book lovers, it is GSwiz here, and I'm here today with my May TBR. I kind of love that I introduced my April TBR by talking about how things have been challenging with my life, because soon after I posted that video, my world rocked again. I think it's official. 2024 is a year of character development for me. I kept on saying 2024 is going to be my year, and it looks like it's just a year of character development so far. But I'm still planning to read because I need to keep my mind preoccupied somehow. It's been a time of anxiety and overthinking, but I just want to have some downtime to enjoy myself. And I'm still somewhat struggling with the mental slump, so I am still taking it easy with some of the reads, but there are some books that I've started that I do want to complete, so I have placed those on this TBR. I have a very mixed TBR. I spent a while trying to figure out what I would prioritize. At first, I put a list together of dark reads, and then I thought maybe I need to prioritize the mangas because it's May and I could make it manga May. And then I started thinking about some books that I do want to finish, a book that I want to reread in the lead up to a sequel, and then some novellas. This specific TBR is an assortment of things, and I'm really excited to share these with you. I can't guarantee I will get to them all because it's been really difficult to guarantee what I will actually read within a month. I honestly don't know what my brain will be willing to process by the time I want to start reading, but we will see how we go. I am somewhat confident I will get to some of these within the month, but yeah, we'll find out together. So I guess without further ado, let's get straight into this TBR. I will go into why I want to read these books within this period. So the first book I have to mention on my May TBR is Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I actually started this book soon after Dance of Thieves, and you know what? I actually got a third of the way through this book, but the first third of this book was really depressing, and so I decided to put this book on hold. I'm actually struggling to read fantasy romance at the moment, not necessarily because I don't love fantasy romance, but because of the depressive state that my brain has been in recently. It's just been very difficult for me to process world building. But the good thing about Vow of Thieves is that it is a sequel, and it's part of a spin-off series where I have read the previous series and I have experienced the world building already. So there isn't much effort I need to do in trying to understand the world this time around, thankfully. It's just the story itself is just not making me happy. Not necessarily because it's terrible, but the characters are just in a really depressing situation, so I just have to wait it out with the characters. We'll see how we go. I'm hoping that I can finish this within the month and let you guys know how I go with it. I am hoping that I like this series better than the Remnant Chronicles. I mean, look, I didn't love the Remnant Chronicles considering that the Beauty of Darkness is a book in the Remnant Chronicles, but I loved the first two books in that series. I'm just really hoping that this finale kind of stands on the same level. I would just honestly like to finish the series this year because I don't want to have to reread Dance of Thieves in the future in order to jump back into this book. And another book that I recently started that I put it down because I actually started it on Easter Sunday, and being that I have my own faith, I realized that starting this book on Easter Sunday and continuing it would have been quite sacrilegious, so I did put it down. And that, my friends, is Nightshade by Carrie Lake. I just honestly wanted to be respectful of Resurrection Sunday, so I decided to put this book down. It was very interesting to start off with, but yes, this book does have pretty dark religious themes within it. I just thought, wait a second, I really should not be reading this on Resurrection Sunday. So I'm gonna put this book down. And I'm actually quite glad I put it down at the time because I did want to focus on Resurrection Sunday, and I also did not want to feel guilty while reading this on Resurrection Sunday. I wanted to actually give this book its own time. And yes, I fully understand that this is a fictional work. I just wanted to be respectful of the day and my faith. But I do want to pick up where I left off. It sounded very interesting. It was only just starting to pick up at the point I left off at, and I've been hearing excellent things about Nightshade. Honestly, from the get-go, it reminded me of the Mortal Instruments and like my first reading experience of the Mortal Instruments. It's giving me those vibes so far. It's not necessarily giving me adult paranormal romance vibes. It very much feels a little bit like YA so far. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've just noticed that that it's very plot driven. I have not noticed much romance within the story yet, and that's kind of a good thing. I think that the plot is well established to begin with, and I'm excited to continue on with the adventure, so I'm looking forward to picking the rest of this book up, and I'm hoping that at some point I will continue on to the sequel. It is quite a dense book. I mean, the audiobook was pretty long, and the audiobook performance so far is great, so I am looking forward to continuing. But if it is too dense for me because of the length, I'll probably read it sometime later down the track. Hello, it's me on another day, and the reason why it's me on another day is because as I was filming, I got a call, and after the call, I just didn't start filming again. So here we are. The next thing that I've put on my TBR is just something from a comfort author. So I placed Dustwalker by Tiffany Roberts on this TBR because in April I had read a book by a comfort author that I absolutely loved and adored, and I do just want to read something by Tiffany Roberts within the May period because I felt as if reading something from Opal Rain in April really helped me with my mental health, and it was very healing for me. And once again, I do want to read something that is from one of my comfort authors, or comfort author duos. In this case, Tiffany Roberts. They're a comfort author duo of mine. So I do want to read something by Tiffany Roberts in May. I've honestly placed Dustwalker here because it is a standalone. It's not too much of a commitment. I could read The Spider's Mate, which I did put on my April TBR, and it is not in my April wrap-up, that's for sure. So I could also go that route. I could read another one of their Alien series, but I could read one that's either 6 or 7 books because I also have those kind of series on my TBR from them. But this is a standalone, so I've placed this on my TBR purely because it's not too much of a commitment, but this is just a placeholder book for anything Tiffany Roberts. So I could read Dustwalker this month, or I could read something completely different from Tiffany Roberts, but the end goal for me is that I read something by Tiffany Roberts in May. So if it's not this book, it's going to be something else. I just want to read something that is comforting and wholesome. That is what I need within this month. So I'm hoping to get to something within the month of May from them. And another type of book that I would like to prioritize in May would be the novella, or the short novel. Like a short novel to sink my teeth into, but to also get me back into enjoying the paranormal fantasy type of books. And on this TBR, I've got a few paranormal novellas. I've got this series right here, the Consorting with Monsters series by Rowan Merrick. So here I have Tentacles and Teeth, and then I have Bound and Beguiled. I do not know much about the series, but I saw them for very cheap on Amazon, and I decided I want to add some novellas to my TBR, so I have them. And they seem to be monster romance novellas. I also specifically wanted to read them within the month of May because I recently read some novellas in the A Deal with a Demon series, and I do want to read some books that give me similar vibes to that series. I really like that series personally. I don't know if the series is going to give me similar vibes because I've never read anything by Rowan Merrick before, so I don't know whether their writing is going to be anything like Katie Roberts, but I'm just looking for similar vibes. So I'm wanting to get to these two within the month of May. I might get to one, or I might get to both. I don't know, we'll see. But honestly, I don't think I could go too wrong with a novella. At some points, there are moments where I do struggle, and when I do struggle, I pick up some novellas. So that's why I'm picking these ones up. But I'm also planning to get to Death's Obsession by Evina St. Graves. This one was being recommended to me everywhere on my Amazon algorithm, and I finally caved. I finally did it. I was like, you know what? Okay, this is cheap. I'm gonna get it. And all I know about this paranormal novella is that the love interest is a Grim Reaper. And Death's Obsession, I mean, that seems to be a very extreme title. Within this period, I could read something that is really extreme. But you know what? I could also be thoroughly entertained by it. I mean, reading The Sinner's Duet by Sophie Lark within the month of April, that was one of the most wild book series I've read in a very long time. It was pretty toxic, but I enjoyed every moment of it. And I, for some reason, feel like I'm gonna enjoy every moment of Death's Obsession. I don't know why. I'm drawn to this novella like a moth to a flame. So I'm planning to pick this one up within the month of May. I wonder if this is going to be a very haunting read or if it's just going to be a guilty pleasure read. Maybe it could be both. I'm kind of hoping I love it though, because I'm seeing so many book talk girlies absolutely obsess over this one, and I just need some sort of pick me up, even though it might bring me down to some degree. I don't know, I just reckon I'm gonna eat this all up. And for the month of May, I've decided to put a few contemporary romances on this list as well, because I don't know which direction my reading will take me within this month. Maybe I might just want to read some comfort reads that are set within the world that I live in that seem to be a little bit more realistic than the other stuff that I've placed on my TBR so far. First out of the bunch is Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. I have still not read Fangirl Down. I am hoping that this is not going to be a Secretly Yours situation. If you guys don't know, Secretly Yours came out last year and I really did not enjoy it. And for some reason, I struggle with the idea of starting a new duet by Tessa Bailey. And for some reason, I've been hesitant to start Fangirl Down because I have a feeling I'm going to have a very similar reading experience with this book that I did with Secretly Yours. And I've purposely not been looking at the Goodreads average rating for Fangirl Down because I honestly do not want anyone to sway my opinion on this book. That being said, I'm nervous to go into it because I'm also refusing to look at any reviews for this book. I do want to read Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey at some point. I do want to read the next book in the series as well because I believe the next book in the series follows a different sports romance and I'm kind of more interested in that sport than I am in golf. But I'm hoping that this story will be somewhat entertaining for me. I have been impressed by Tessa Bailey books before. I'm pretty sure eventually I will be impressed by another one again. I think I'm just skeptical about starting this new series because the last time I started a new series by Tessa Bailey, like a front list series by Tessa Bailey, it did not end well. So, I'm just hoping the protagonist in this story is respectful of the love interest's boundaries, or vice versa. And another contemporary romance that I've placed on this TBR is not a frontlist contemporary romance, it is a backlist contemporary romance, but I've wanted to read it for quite some time. I initially was gonna put this author's newest release on this list, but after taking some time to review, I came to the realization that I should work my way from the backlist forward. The author that I'm referring to is Olivia Dade, and I want to read spoiler alert sometime soon. Hopefully I can get to this one within the month of May, but if I don't, I do want to read it sometime this year. I've heard great things about this series and I've wanted to own these books for a while. I told myself that I wasn't going to purchase the books in these covers unless of course they were the Afterlight exclusive editions because I like these hardback, but I prefer the illustrations on the US covers better. And I mean, I might get those eventually, but I'm at least happy that I now finally have a set on my shelf so that I can finally read this series. I initially was gonna put At First Spite on this TBR, and I think that was because it was a new release, it came in a book box recently, but honestly, even though I don't want to make too much of a commitment, I do like myself a good monthly binge read from time to time, and I personally prioritize series binges over reading new release books on their own. I don't know, that's just something that I have been doing over these last few years. It's something that I do prioritize, and I do want to read At First Spite eventually, but I think maybe I might read At First Spite closer to when the second book in the Harlot's Bay series comes out. I mean, we will see. Maybe I might just read that book when I feel like it as a comfort read. Maybe reading the spoiler alert series might just convince me that I need to read that book immediately. But I definitely do want to get to this book series sometime soon. I do want to read it sometime this year. So hopefully I can get to the spoiler alert series within the month of May. If I'm not in the mood to read it, that's okay, but I'm just putting it out there for now in this video. The second last book slash series that I have to mention on my May TBR is another contemporary romance series. I want to finally get to the final Holly Renee series that I have on my shelves that I have not yet read. The first book is Trouble with the Guy Next Door, and there are two other books in the series. This is just another companion contemporary romance series that I reckon is going to be a very fun time. It might just be a good guilty pleasure series. And I just remember last year absolutely adoring the Good Girl series by Holly Renee. I had a very good time with those books and I want a good time again. And even though the books in the series have a shorter page count and I'm not expecting them to be too deep, I am just expecting that they're going to be a fun time. They're just going to be a good fun time to get me back into reading and just enjoying things again. These books are literally under 300 pages. I mean, this one right here is 276, and the Good Girl series also had short books within it as well. So I'm expecting these to be very quick reads, but I really hope that I enjoy the series just as much as I enjoyed the Good Girl series, because I really loved that contemporary romance series, and I kind of feel as if that series needed to be picked up by a publisher because I think it would do pretty well in the romance section. But that is just my personal opinion. I just wanted more people to read that series at the time. Holly Renee's contemporaries, at least based on what I've read so far, like with my experience with the Good Girl series, I really enjoyed them, and I think that they should not be overlooked. I do want to read more fantasy by Holly Renee, but I do like the contemporary romance backlist so far, and I'm very much looking forward to getting into this series as well. So I might just read all of these in the month of May. I might not. We will see. But I'm hoping to also read this book series by the end of the year as well. And last but certainly not least, May is the month for Bespelled, which means that I need to reread Bewitched. I'm putting Bespelled on this TBR just in case I read it immediately, but it comes out at the end of May. So realistically, I'm actually planning to finish that book in the month of June. You know what? April has been such a tough month. I initially was going to put the Bargainer series on my May TBR, and I mentioned this in my previous monthly TBR. I will mention it again. I feel as if at any point I will reread The Bargainer because I keep on telling myself that I'm one mental breakdown away from reading The Bargainer, and every single time I've had a mental breakdown so far, it hasn't happened. Like, I've just been through one of the hardest months ever. I still have not yet read The Bargainer. How has that not happened yet? But I'm going back into the world of The Bargainer by rereading Bewitched, and I will go into Bespelled. And who knows, maybe at some point of this month I will finally cave and reread The Bargainer. But also, for some reason, this is a side tangent, right? I feel as if I do read my favorite series during a really tough time, what if the really challenging time ruins the series for me, in a sense that I will forever associate the really dark time with the Bargainer series, and I will not be happy while thinking about the Bargainer series. I'll actually just be sad. I don't know, I'm just going on a tangent, but this has been my thought process, and this is why I'm wrestling with the idea of rereading my favorite comfort series. I'm planning to reread Bewitched, and I have been very much looking forward to this reread so badly. Even though it is definitely not my favorite book by Laura Falasa, it is definitely a great start to the series. I just need to recap on what happens before going into Bespelled. I'm so looking forward to Bespelled. Bespelled is definitely one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and who knows, maybe after reading Bewitched, I'm gonna crave more of Laura's books, and I'm gonna want to read the Bargainer series again. Or maybe I might go on the opposite side of the spectrum and reread the Unearthly series, because I feel as if I do also want to read Unearthly, even though it's nowhere near The Bargainer in terms of how much I adore it. However, that finale I do want to experience again. So let's just say that within the month of May, I'm planning to revisit the Otherworld / The Bargainer universe by Laura Falasa in one way, shape, or form. I'm definitely planning to prioritize Bewitched because the sequel is coming out, but if I'm craving more Otherworld content, then I will be rereading The Bargainer, or I will be rereading Unearthly. No promises, but it could happen. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the pink heart emoji with the sparkles. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social media. I'm at itsgswizzelbooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also GOODREADS. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at gswizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
In a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.